Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Manhattan jumping-off point for what has, in recent years, become one of the most popular warm-weather destinations in New York City, and that is Governor's Island. And let me start by saying I got a call a while ago from the great Speaker of the Assembly, Shelley Silver, who really did want to be here, really planned to be here. He is stuck on the tarmac in Albany. Now, oftentimes people say he'd like to be here. Would you rather be in Albany or here? I'll rest my case. Shelley really would rather be here. Anyways, we miss him, and I promised that I would, if it wasn't for Shelley, a lot of this wouldn't have gotten done. A lot of things in Lower Manhattan wouldn't have gotten done. But Judy Rapvogel is going to fill in for him, and she is going to be talking for an hour and a half about the gold standard, the flat tax, and whether she's nauseated by what some elected officials say. All right, put that together? Okay, good. You got some humor. It's, late Thursday afternoon. During the roughly 4-month public season last year, some 448,000 people visited Governor's Island on the weekends and on holiday Mondays, and that's compared to only 8,000 visitors back in 2005. Now, I know all of you reporters who are so good at math, who criticize our students for not learning enough math, are busily doing the calculation of what is the percentage increase from 8,000 visitors to 448,000. If my math is any good, I would think it's about 5,500%, but just guessing, right, Margaret? No, that is. A new public season begins Saturday, which is 2 days from now, and will run through September 30th, and it is certain to be a busy one. The current popularity of Governor's Island is a direct result of the agreement we reached with the state 2 years ago that established clear lines of authority over the island's use and redevelopment. And today we're making two announcements that are both major milestones in Governor Island's further redevelopment, and that will make this an even more attractive destination for the coming years. The first is that we're breaking ground on a new park and public space on the island. The first phase will open in 2013 and include 2,000 new trees, public art installations, and play areas for play and relaxation, like lying in a hammock. That sounds like good relaxation to me. These new spaces, designed by the acclaimed landscape architect firm West 8, will be constructed with $75 million in city capital funds. They're the most visible aspect of the more than $260 million we're investing in Governor's Island over the next 2 years. That will also include comprehensive updating of the island's infrastructure, including, for example, seawall docks and electric and telecommunications systems. And these investments will help us realize our goal of bringing Governor's Island to life year-round in the near future. In fact, this summer, the Trust for Governor's Island, which manages 150 acres of this 172-acre island, will issue a request for proposals for new year-round educational and creative use on the island. Today's second announcement is that Castle Williams, a fort on Governor's Island built during the run-up to the War of 1812, and we're celebrating the bicentennial of that, to defend New York Harbor, will reopen to the public on Saturday. It's been closed for 3 years while its manager, the National Park Service, has overseen an extensive $6.1 million federally funded rehabilitation. And of course, this season, visitors will, as they have in the past, also have access to the island's 2.2-mile promenade, public picnic point, and nearly the entire historic district on the island. And they'll also enjoy Governor's Island's wide range of free cultural and recreational programming, including bike riding, miniature golf, vintage baseball games, food festivals, the island's installation of Mark de Suvro's sculptures, courtesy of Storm King Art Center, and the Cooper Hewitt National Design Museum exhibit. And once again, free ferry service will be available to Governor's Island from the Battery Maritime Building, where we are now, and from Brooklyn Bridge Park. So on that note, let me turn the floor over to someone who has been instrumental in the rehabilitation and reopening of Castle Williams, Congressman Jerry Nadler. Jerry?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I'm very pleased to be here today to break ground on the new park and public space in Governor's Island and to open the newly rehabilitated Castle Williams. Castle Clinton is a different project. Today's event, kicking off Governor's Island 2012 season, is another marker in transforming this once overlooked piece of New York geography into a vital and world-class destination. I'm proud I was able to obtain $1,300,000 in Interior Department appropriations, and let me note that was an earmark, one of those dirty things, but I'm glad we had them in those days, and we should get them back again.
I agree with you.
Good.
You're 100% right.
Thank you.
It's one of the dumber things done. It is.
I agree. It's one of the. It's a different discussion, but I agree. Getting rid of earmarks. I didn't want to digress into this as if the Congress wasn't given the power of the purse. Getting rid of earmarks is saying that the bureaucrats in the department, in the executive department, should make all the decisions, and that people we elect to office should make no decisions,
Well,
and that you can't.
Different for the city.
Different discussion. Different discussion. But in any event, I'm glad I was able to obtain the $1.3 million earmark in the Appropriations Department appropriations and $5.6 million in the American Recovery Act that financed the renovation of Castle Williams. The renovated Castle Williams will not only be another amazing public space on the island, but will also give visitors a window into the history of Castle Williams and Governor's Island. The ongoing redevelopment of Governor's Island represents one of the most exciting and dynamic projects in New York City today. This growing landmark is testimony to what we are capable of building when we combine creative vision, community input, and real resources from all levels of government. This is the government doing what it is intended to do, facilitating the wishes of the people, providing parks, quality parks, recreation facilities, public spaces, and historic preservation. Thank you to Mayor Bloomberg, to my fellow elected officials, Commissioner Maria Burks, the National Park Service, Superintendent Patti Reilly, and to Leslie Koch and the Trust for Governor's Island. I look forward to continuing to work together as we continue to improve the island, to make it a greater resource, a greater amenity, and a greater destination for people in New York. Thank you.
Sherry, thank you. The vision and leadership of State Assembly Speaker Shelley Silver really has been crucial to the ongoing renaissance of Governor's Island, and that includes the agreement he helped forge 2 years ago that established Governor Island's current governance structure. Shelley really did want to be here. I talked to him on the phone, and I promised that we would tell him he was missed, but that we were glad that Judy could come. And I don't want to say that we would rather hear from you than him, but you're a very good substitute.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. And I don't want to disappoint, so I will not read Shelley's speech. I will share that this really is so important to Shelley. He brings his grandchildren here. We see this as Lower Manhattan's backyard, and we are so proud of it. Years ago, with Leslie Koch's input, we sent out a little postcard to our constituents. I believe that was the first time that 10,000 visitors topped going to Governor's Island. We have come a long way. And we've done this because a couple of years ago, our wonderful mayor said to Shelley, I think I'd like to control Governor's Island. And Shelley said something like, take it, please. Not really. It was weeks, months, maybe a year of discussions. But in the end, we knew that the mayor would protect this and grow this island as the precious jewel that it is. It is such a privilege for me to be here with our wonderful colleagues because we believe so much in Governor's Island, and we so appreciate what you and Leslie are doing. Thank you.
The state Senate, represented by Dan Squadron. Dan really seriously helped create the Governor's Island governance structure and remains an enthusiastic advocate, and I think that this would not have gotten done without Dan. He deserves a lot of credit for it. Dan?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and I feel like I can repeat what I've said many times before along the waterfront, because we've been at a lot of events together, whether in Brooklyn, on Governor's Island, here along the Manhattan waterfront, announcing great news. And that's because something very big is happening in this city, and your administration deserves enormous credit for it. We are building a true harbor park, a central park for the center of the city, and Governor's Island is really the jewel at the center of that park. And so moving Governor's Island forward, the season opening, Castle Williams being open, are all part of a much bigger story, and it's a story that extends from the Brooklyn waterfront along the Battery, both up the west and east side. And it really is the great public work of this century. So it's very, very exciting. If you haven't been to Governor's Island, you're missing out on the city's future, which is upon us. You should come this summer. And when you do, enjoy Battery Park City, enjoy the Battery and the East River waterfront, enjoy Brooklyn Bridge Park, enjoy the parks along the north side in Brooklyn, because they're all happening right now, and they're all happening as part of an extraordinary future for the city. We're not there yet, but the progress has been amazing, and I'm really looking forward to being there. Of course, we also never would have gotten there without the great leadership of our congressman here and also along the piers in Brooklyn, at least for the last 10 years, thank goodness, and Speaker Silver, who I've been so happy to be able to have as my representative in large parts of Lower Manhattan, and his leadership I follow, and of course, Councilmember Chin. So it's a great day. Congratulations to the administration. I look forward to seeing you on Governor's Island this summer. Thank you.
Margaret, since we haven't gotten rid of earmarks, although we call them member items, I trust you will take good care of Governor's Island, the great councilwoman that represents this district, Margaret Chin.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you to you and also to Leslie and Congressman Nadler and Speaker Silver and of course, Senator Squadron. By working together, we have strong leadership for Lower Manhattan. And in the City Council, we've been very supportive of Governor's Island. I mean, the city DOE built Harbor School, but they didn't do everything. So the City Council has to come in and support it so that they could grow the oyster and clean the water. And this beautiful new park and Castle William will be an asset to the student. I think some of them came over from the ferry. I was looking forward to go out there today, Mayor. I was ready to take up the shovel and do the groundbreaking and then the ribbon cutting. Governor's Island is a wonderful place. And for the past 2 years, we have organized a community day for residents in Lower Manhattan where we ride the ferry together out there. And once we get off the ferry, and I tell them, you're on your own. And all of them know where to go, and they know how to find that hammock, and they know how to lie there and enjoy themselves. So this is such an exciting day for the residents in Lower Manhattan and throughout New York City. And we invite everyone to come out to Governor's Island this summer because and Waters Day is July 14th. That's our community day, too. So, Mayor, thank you for your support of Governor's Island. And we will work together to make sure there's a beautiful park there and that our history will be preserved. Thank you.
Margaret, thank you. Before I introduce Maria Burks, our last speaker, I just wanted to point out that Leslie Koch, people keep talking about you, but you really have done a great job, and thank you very much. And I love the new hairdo. Julie Menon from Community Board 1 is here. Adrian Benepe, our great Parks Commissioner, is here. And David Bragdon from Long-Term Planning and Sustainability is here. Now, the National Park Service will be opening Castle Williams to visitors this weekend, and Maria Burks, Commissioner of the National Parks of New York Harbor, is going to talk a little bit about it. Maria?
Thank you, Mayor Bloomberg, and congratulations. I was hoping we were going to stick shovels in the ground and cut ribbons, but yeah, we all were. But that's the way it goes. The weather trumps. At any rate, congratulations for the wonderful beginning of your new public park and public space on Governor's Island. As the mayor said, 22 acres of Governor's Island are managed by the National Park Service as a unit of the National Park System. And in fact, if you look around you, you'll see all of our lovely park rangers who are here with you today. So on behalf of the National Park Service, I'd like to welcome you, Mayor Bloomberg and Congressman Nadler, Speaker Silver, represented by Judy Rapfogel today, Senator Squadron, Councilmember Chin, delightful to meet you, and representatives from the federal family, too. We have representatives here from the United States Coast Guard and Denise Peace and Bob Zaretsky from the General Services Administration. We're thankful that you all could come and join us today. It's a special ceremony today. We were going to reopen Castle Williams with a ribbon cutting. And to help us today, we had with us, and we have them somewhere here, students from the Urban Assembly New York Harbor School, which you all probably know is based on Governor's Island. If they could raise their hands so we can see them. We have Paul Blatt, Makita Bloomfield, Asia Salgado, and Luis Negron from the Harbor School. And you know, we invited them because we think it's important for everyone to remember that parks, like national parks, city parks run by my fellow Commissioner Benepi, and state parks, all open spaces, are special places that preserve special stories for the generation to come. So it's important to have them here with us today. Around me, around us, are some images that convey, albeit in a limited way, I regret to say, some of the results of the work of our labors to restore Castle Williams. Use your imaginations and pretend you're there. We can't have a ribbon cutting today, but at the end of this program, we're going to cut the cake, and there is actually a real cake over there, not just a picture of a cake. A project of this kind takes an exceptional team to accomplish. So I want to thank all the organizations who voiced support for the project, especially the Regional Plan Association and the Governor's Island Alliance during the early days when we were working on the project. And then a special shout out to Peg Green. Is she here today, Peg? The Landmarks Conservancy, who provided invaluable technical support. We brought in a diverse mix of contractors and consultants from all over the country. And here with us today, we have our primary contractor, Jim Harris, somewhere here. Our construction manager, Rich Latanzi. And then a creative and terrific team of National Park Service employees who helped to pull the entire project off. Now, some of you will remember former Superintendent Linda Neal, who was the first superintendent of Governor's Island National Monument, moving right through to the current superintendent, Patti Reilly, whose expert leadership guided her team through this process. I want to give a special shout out to Ed Lorenzini, Dina Saslaw, Mike Shaver, Barbara Hines, Noah Lumsden, Elise Goldman, Colin Bell, and Kevin Lee, and I think they're mostly here today. You guys want to just sort of give a little wave back there? And supporting them were our Denver Service Center project manager, Linda Morey, and specialist Jack Hagan, and technical advisors David Bitterman and Judy Jacob, who I think are also here today. This is an exciting day. This is the first time that Castle Williams will be open after almost 3 years of extensive rehabilitation. And for the first time since the monument was established, the public will have a chance to go to the top of the castle. And I think, Mr. Mayor, you might have mentioned that. They'll have a chance to enjoy beautiful views of the harbor and of lower Manhattan. And we have put in a whole series of brand new exhibits, and there are pictures of some of them, evoking some of them around here, that outline the history of the castle from its construction as a fort right before the War of 1812 to its use as a federal military prison. You may or may not know that, during the Civil War era, kind of the New York Harbor version of Alcatraz Light. Anyone doesn't know that? It's a very interesting story. And finally, as a community center for the U.S. Coast Guard. Castle Williams is notable in that it marks the first time in United States history that a fort was actually designed by an American. Remember, this wasn't too long after the American Revolution. So rather than a British or even maybe a Dutch engineer, Colonel Jonathan Williams designed it. Its innovative structural design enabled it to remain stable even if the walls were breached by enemy cannon fire, which luckily it was never threatened by actual enemy cannon fire. But if it had been, its walls would have stood, and that may be one of the reasons that today Castle Williams remains literally the best preserved fortification of its kind anywhere in the United States. It did cost $6.1 million to do the job of getting it reopened. And that involved a whole series of hazardous materials removal, structural stabilization, masonry restoration and repointing, installation of fire detection equipment, and a whole series of other safety items. We worked hard on improving access, and we were going to be delighted to take you up to the roof today to stand on the new viewing platforms. You can come on Saturday and do it. And then, of course, the design and the installation of interpretive exhibits. So it will be open on Saturday, and we hope that everyone will take a second trip out to Governor's Island to visit it, since you can't see it today. I want to make two special shout-outs here. One is to thank our partner on Governor's Island, the Trust for Governor's Island, and particularly the inimitable Leslie Koch. I think everyone knows. Her help was invaluable as we went through the twists and turns that were required. And together, I think, working together, we've been able to create a world-class visitor destination on Governor's Island with obviously more to come. And Mr. Mayor, I would point out that this is another example of how the city and the National Park Service working together with my fellow commissioner, we're able to do wonderful things together. So now I have a special announcement that I'd like to make. It is, in fact, the case that we couldn't have done this without money. I think everyone recognizes that. And Congressman Nadler talked about how difficult it was to get the funds. I was going to use the term earmark, Congressman, but I was afraid to. So instead, I'll simply say that through the American Reinvestment and Recovery Act and the normal National Park Service Appropriations Act, the Congressman worked tirelessly for years to get us those appropriations. He mentioned it in passing, but believe me, it was a monumental effort to get that money in a very, very competitive environment. So without him, we would not be here today opening Castle Williams. And Congressman, I would like to honor you with a small token of our appreciation. Well, it's bigger than small, but. Come out. Thank you. A lovely, I know you have a picture of Castle Williams as it is now, but we have a picture of the historic Castle Williams for you here. And it says, in appreciation for your outstanding support and dedication to the preservation of Castle Williams and its reopening to the public.
Let me just finish by summarizing today's announcement for our Spanish-speaking audience. Estamos empezando construcción de nuevos parques y espacios públicos en Governor's Island para mejorar la isla y atraer más visitantes en la temporada abierta de la isla. What hours are starting on Saturday?
10 to 7, Saturday and Sunday, and holiday Mondays until the end of September.
10 to 7, 10 in the morning, 7 p.m., Saturdays, Sundays, and holiday Mondays. And it really is worth a spectacular trip. Let me ask you, did we ever use any of these forts? Have any of them around the city ever fired a cannon? I don't think so.
No, only testing.
Testing.
They were never tested in that level. And some historians speculate that the reason New York City was never attacked at any point during its history up until basically 9/11 is because we had such an extensive series of fortifications. And by the way,
Can't prove no.
Castle Windsor was built in the same period, so it was an understandable event.
And the one on this side of the harbor at the Battery Park,
Castle Windsor.
that's Clinton and the other ones.
Same era.
And then, so the other ones, if you entered the harbor, there's on the Staten Island under the Verrazano Bridge, and then Fort Totten on this.
Again, opposite Fort Hamilton.
Opposite, and that's and then
Base of the Statue of
on
The Statue of Liberty is Wood.
right, but coming in from
Fort Hancock.
Long Island Sound, there's a fort. There's the old remnants of Fort. The walls are still there. Is that Totten down on the water? That's Totten, because now it's a big military base, but it was, but that was the Totten actually. And what was the complimentary on the other side, I wonder? Huh? Schuyler, is that? How would you know that? It's you're in the business. Oh, did you really? This is a good day. Governor's Island, a lot of people don't know about it, but it really is spectacular. Nearly 500,000 people last year, and we'll blow through that this year. This really is a great gem for New Yorkers. And it's just like I just came back a couple of hours ago from Coney Island, something else that people thought was dead. And last year we had 700,000 people there taking rides and that sort of thing. So New York is making use of some of these old things that were left, unfortunately, to fall apart when we forgot that you have to keep investing in order to have a civilization. And fortunately, we've learned that lesson. Hopefully we won't forget it. Thank you, everyone.